With the stable release of OpenMW version 0.47, I thought now would be a good time to go over the reasons why I use OpenMW over Morrowind's original engine. For this video, I'm going to assume that you know what OpenMW is. By this I mean you know that it's an engine re-implementation, not just a simple mod. In case you were wondering, yes, OpenMW is fully playable and has been for some years now. Don't let the version number confuse you. It's not exactly feature complete, but it's functionally close enough for the majority of people. A disclaimer before we start, I am in no way affiliated with OpenMW and all the opinions expressed here are my own. A common misconception I see is that OpenMW is simply a way to play Morrowind on Linux or Mac OS, and that there is no reason to use it on Windows, since you cannot use MWSE Lua mods on OpenMW. Well, in this video I'm going to explain why I, as a Windows user, choose to play on OpenMW and why, in my opinion, it is the superior choice. From here on, I'll be referring to Morrowind's original engine as Oldwind, just as 32-bit Skyrim is commonly referred to as Oldrin. The first topic I want to discuss is ease of use. Morrowind is currently old enough to drink, and was developed for an operating system that was deprecated well over a decade ago. To play Oldwind on modern PCs in modern resolutions requires a ton of finagling. I mean, look at the length of this guide, and this is just to get the game in a basically playable state. You need to patch the executable, you need to install MGXE and MWSE, and then MCP, and even CCCP. Wait a second.
Communist detected on American soil.
OpenMW is quick and simple to set up. All you need is an installation of Morrowind, which you can get from Steam or GOG. Download and install OpenMW and point it to your Morrowind data files and you're good to go. You don't need any engine fixes or anything else, since all the bugs and glitches that exist in Morrowind.exe were purposely not implemented in OpenMW for obvious reasons. Before you start playing, have a look through the launcher options. There's a lot of cool engine level gameplay stuff in there, like dialogue topic coloring and NPC collision avoidance. If you're running a high resolution like me, make sure to bump up the GUI scaling factor in the interface settings. OpenMW comes packaged with many quality of life features, such as an infantry search feature and a field of view slider, among many others. OpenMW's distant land implementation is also vastly superior to MGXE's. I mean seriously, I can't understate this. MGXE requires you to regenerate distant land using a complicated looking external tool every time you change a mod that edits the landscape. OpenMW's distant land dynamically generates itself as you move around in-game, requiring no input from the user. But what's the catch, you ask? Well, in the words of a certain used video game salesman,
all of this just works.
Thanks, Todd. But what use is installing and configuring if you can't actually play the game? Oldwind is a very unstable 32-bit engine and is prone to constant crashing at the best of times. Personally, I gave up on Oldwind several years ago when I could only play for about an hour on my heavily modded install before the game would routinely run out of memory and crash, and that was with all the third-party engine fixes. Today I'm nearing 400 mods on my OpenMW install. You want to know how many times it's crashed on my 70-hour playthrough? 0. It has not crashed a single time. Why? Because OpenMW is a 64-bit engine, designed with stability and performance as top priority. Frame rates are also significantly higher across the board compared to Oldwind, due to OpenMW being able to take advantage of modern hardware. Nor will your saves ever corrupt. For me, this is the killer blow to Oldwind. There's no point playing and modding a 2-decade-old engine with serious stability issues. Sure, Lua mods are nice, but honestly, can you even play the game consistently enough to enjoy them? Even one crash is enough to make me want to quit playing, because I'll always be anticipating when my game is going to crash next, which ruins my immersion. This is not a problem with OpenMW. You can pile as many mods on it as you like, and never have to worry about crashing. Did I mention OpenMW doesn't bake stuff to your save like Oldwind, so you can install and uninstall mods freely in the middle of a playthrough? Wait, which engine is better for modding again? Speaking of mods, it's time to bust that myth that OpenMW doesn't work correctly with mods. As I mentioned, I'm running around 400 mods, about half of which are graphical replacers. There are small outliers such as Abbott Siltstriders that do not work properly in OpenMW, but such mods are few and far between. 99% of mods that do not require MGXE work in OpenMW without issue. This bears mentioning that the really big landmass mods like Tamriel Rebuilt and Skyrim Home of the Nords also work without issue. and actually work better in OpenMW than in Oldwind, because Oldwind has less floating point accuracy than OpenMW, resulting in the world and NPCs vibrating and jittering if you try to run these mods in Oldwind. I'm not joking, try to run Province Cyrodiil in Oldwind and you'll see what I mean. They even mention it in the Nexus description. If you want to start modding OpenMW, I highly recommend this guide by Rob's Red Hotspot, link will be in the description. He covers basic installation and setup of Mod Organizer 2 to work with OpenMW. I consider MO2 absolutely essential for modding any Bethesda game, and thanks to a Python script from OpenMW developer AnyOldName3, it also works with OpenMW. On the visual side of things, it is true that OpenMW currently lacks MGE style shaders, though they're in the pipeline. OpenMW makes up for this, however, in other areas, namely in that it has normal and parallax map support, which greatly increases the detail of texture mods with almost no performance loss. OpenMW also has a fix for the 8 light limit in vanilla Morrowind, an issue that results in light sources flickering on and off if there are too many lights on screen. As of version 0.47, this issue has been resolved. OpenMW's ground cover support also reacts to light, something even the grass in Skyrim does not do. Lastly, let's talk about some lesser known features of OpenMW that together make a big difference in how you experience the game. There are simply too many to list here, but I'll list a few of my favourite ones. You'll find most of these options in the launcher. OpenMW features several third-person tweaks that significantly enhance third-person gameplay, such as diagonal walking and running animations, a dynamic over-the-shoulder camera, and a Skyrim-style unlocked preview camera. The smooth movement option adds momentum to third-person movement to make it feel more like a modern game. Neither the player nor NPCs can instantly snap around like they're weightless with this option enabled. There is also the dialogue topic coloring which I mentioned earlier. This highlights dialogue options for NPCs with unique dialogue, or dialogue you haven't heard yet, and vastly improves the experience of talking to NPCs in the game. There are even more options than this, and I recommend you experiment with them in the launcher. If you were still on the fence about switching to OpenMW, then I hope some of what I've said here has been of use to you. Again, these are my personal opinions and my experiences, and I am not affiliated with OpenMW in any way. Nevertheless, it is my desire to get more people off Oldwind and onto OpenMW, as a larger user base can only help the project. I want to end this video with a personal anecdote, so bear with me. When Skyrim Special Edition was released in 2016, it was met with, let's call it, a lukewarm reaction by the modding community. The biggest issue being the fact that it was a 64-bit engine, meaning all of the script extender mods made for the 32-bit Legendary Edition would not work on it. In fact, for the first year of the Special Edition's life, it didn't even have a script extender. Now, I had been playing Skyrim Legendary Edition for years, and I had a mod list probably larger than the original game, and yet, after a few weeks of testing the Special Edition, I decided to permanently make the switch. I deleted my Legendary Edition install and all my mods. Why? Of course, because of the improved engine stability and performance. 32-bit Skyrim crashed regularly and lagged horribly. It was a technical nightmare. The Special Edition, by contrast, ran like butter and never crashed at all due to its 64-bit architecture. I asked myself an important question. Were all the script extender mods for Legendary Edition even worth it when I was constantly being pulled out of the game due to the crashing and generally terrible performance? Of course not. I wanted to actually play the game.